All right, welcome into Gridiron Icon, the podcast. I am trying to contain myself. I am so excited for this week. I am joined by, of course, the one and only number 88, my partner in crime, Mr. Preston Denard. Preston, how are
Hey.
we?
Oh, man, I'm doing quite well. You know, this is going to be a special deal. And to top it off, and I just want him to feel bad enough that I got to drink somebody else's special reserve in red wine
Ouch.
decor.
Come on, man. Where's the wine glass?
I know.
Hey, isn't it what we do in Italy? We just
Man,
the mason jars.
Got a wine
Unbelievable.
glass. You got to stir it around.
Oh, see, he's already talking.
Yeah.
He needs no introduction. Stacy, this is a special guest tonight. Need we say no more? It's number 15 from Torrance, California, where I'm sure tonight he got stopped in traffic trying to get through that mess. Our guest has made his way to be an All American at Nebraska, but a lot of folks don't realize he started out at the University of California. Being named Sporting News College Football Player of the Year in 1976, where he went on to be drafted by our Los Angeles Rams in the 4th round in 1977. Ladies and gentlemen, my boy, Vincenzo Benito Vincent Ferragamo.
Hey, he said that good, didn't he, Stacy?
He's really talented, and
Man, he's got that Italian lingo. Vincenzo Ferragamo.
Oh,
Beautiful.
you should have heard him singing earlier.
Bene, Preston.
Hey, the real deal. That's my point.
That's right. That's right. Hey, it's great to be on the show with you guys, man. This is awesome. I did make it down here to Torrance tonight, and we're doing a rehearsal for the Salvation Army. They have the voice contest tomorrow. It's for charity, and it's actually in memory of one of my old teammates and high school buddies, Ralph Moore, who passed away last year, and to do this memorial event. It's a beautiful place, a lot of great talent here, and so Preston, I got to be the MC tomorrow night, so we'll see how that goes, but it should be a lot of fun.
You do that well. I've seen you once or twice, and I've seen you call signals in the huddle. I think you can handle it.
Hey, look at your garb. Where are you guys at? Are you back east someplace? It must be cold, because then where I'm California, it's nice out here.
Yeah, well, I'm not in California. I'm out here in 40-degree weather out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I am dressed theme of the show tonight.
Right, the Rams. I'm telling you, he thought he might have the Packers stuff on tonight because
hey,
they took care of the Rams this past week. What happened to our LA Rams?
Hey, you knew he was going to go there, right, Stacy?
I couldn't even finish that game. I was so upset. Yeah.
I was thinking about that, Stacy and Preston, about how many young quarterbacks now. It's the first time in the history of the NFL, I think we've seen 10 rookie quarterbacks get at least a start in this season. Mm-hmm. And, we've seen the 3 first-rounders that went, one in the second round, right. And then we had a couple 4th, 5th rounders. They're all playing football right now and starting for the teams. I mean, I remember my first year. There's no way I could probably start another first year. Too much stuff going on. And then we see a guy like Joshua Dobbs, who is an aerospace engineer, with a 4.0 GPA. No wonder why he could take over that place like in a heartbeat. He goes to Minnesota, and then he didn't even have a chance to practice with the team. Never threw a pass to one of his wide receivers. He leads the team down to win the game in Atlanta. I mean, it's amazing what some of these guys can do.
I think that was the performance of the season so far. They showed him giving his cadence to the offensive line on the sideline.
He didn't even know the guys' names. He couldn't tell the center. He said, hey, you, do this, do that.
Hey, 56.
Bonkers.
54, you got him.
Right, there you go.
Well, Vinny, hey, let's kick this thing off. I mean, we got a lot we got to try to squeeze in, and I don't even know how we're going to do it, but I know Stacy's got plenty to ask you. But
too much.
Kick this thing off. Let's just go way back. Take it all the way back when you were a little tight. The first time a baseball, a football, a basketball. When did sports become something of your interest?
Oh, I guess when I was a young kid, I was more interested in music and my mom had me play the guitar, and my mom was a singer and a performer, and it was just there was always music in an Italian family. There's always food to eat. The last thing in my mind was to play any kind of sports, but sports became part of the family, I guess, because my older brothers played football, and I guess growing up as a kid, I played baseball, and we didn't have soccer back then, so it was like baseball or football or basketball, and I got involved in a flag football, which was always too heavy to play tackle football as a young kid, and grew up liking football, and started off as a center like my brothers played. They were center and linebacker, and then I grew up, elevating myself to wide receiver. Preston, I was going to take your position, but then when I was a ninth grader, as a freshman, before they had 4-year high school football, I wanted to play quarterback. So I started teaching myself. In those days, you had to teach yourself how to throw the ball. And lucky for me, things went well. I was able to start throwing it around. And, my older brother was a coach in high school. But I got involved with football, I guess, because of my older brothers playing and watching them play.
Wow.
That is outstanding. Well, you know what? And I know your brothers. I know Chris Welts. And I mean, it's in the blood. Was football always that sport growing up, even going into high school, or when did it actually latch on as being the one? Because everybody else in the family is involved in football.
Yeah, everybody was involved in football, but my dad actually liked baseball. And he was a big baseball nut. And so I played baseball. He actually coached me in Little League, and we played at the local park there in Southern California, and things went pretty well. We had some pretty good competition there. And so, but when I went to high school, I gravitated to football because that was a sport that I excelled at more, and I liked it. It was, it was rough and tumble. You got to get out there and you hit somebody, and you get hit, and just throwing the ball around. It just seemed like that was the sport after I started to play it, and I really had a lot of fun playing it at the flag football. And I see that now today, Preston, because I coach my grandson at flag football. Man. And it's going pretty well. We're in the playoffs. We just won our game last week, so we have the finals this weekend. And he's a quarterback, obviously.
No, not really.
I wonder why. And, we won the game last week, Stacy, and I tell the guys, I go, I'm unhappy. I don't like the way we played. We got to play better. We still won the game. We won the game, but we kind of quit messing around. Let's just
believe it.
They're only 9 years old. These kids.
Yeah, they're not
9 years old. So anyway,
Sean McVay's on line one. Sean, Vince Ferragamo. Yeah, bring him in, Coach.
Right now.
I love it. So, Vince, you got to listen, I'm getting it out of the way. I chuck myself under the bus constantly as a grown middle-aged man now, but I was a little bit younger than you two. Preston was on one wall, complete with his killer hair and whatnot, and literally above my bed was your Sports Illustrated poster, number 15.
Nice.
So this is incredibly special for me that I got two guys that I really looked up to. But backing all the way up, because I remember this, I was kind of young. How did you end up at Cal Berkeley, and then why the switch to Nebraska, which in those days was like traditional running school, where you then blew the doors out and became an All American? How did that happen?
That's a great question, Stacy, because it was pretty traumatic for me. Everybody kind of, went through the recruiting circuit back in those days, and everybody was paying a lot of attention to some of the players in the Southern California market, and I was one of them. And I was recruited to Washington at the time. They had Sunny Six Killer up there, and then I was recruited to Stanford, to Cal, to Nebraska, everywhere. And I narrowed it down to two schools. It was either going to be Nebraska or go to Stanford. So I ended up signing the letter of intent to Stanford, and I go back to the school. My mom dropped me off at the school, and my brother was the coach. I met him in the locker room, and I asked him. I told him. He said, "Well, where are you going?" Because he thought I was going to Cal, because Mike White did such a great job selling everybody on the program, and Mike was his first year going to being the head coach at Cal. And so I said, "No, I'm going to Stanford." And he goes, "What'd you do that for? You made a mistake." So I said, "What?" So I said, "Oh, shoot." And I don't know. I'm 17 years old. I never went to college. So I go back to the mailbox. I take the letter out. They gave me that letter back. I crossed out Cal, and I crossed out Stanford, and I wrote Cal. What? So I ended up going to Cal Berkeley for 2 years. And that's how it went. I mean, Mike White did a great job recruiting. I mean, some of all the assistant coaches, they were after me like every day to go there. And so ended up going there. And after 2 years, we were put on probation. I never got a chance to play at the Rose Bowl, although Preston and I played in the Super Bowl there. Got transferred at that point. Then I transferred to Nebraska. So that's how it happened.
Wow. And I mean, Nebraska, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were traditionally a running school. You went there and lit it up, became an All American in the late 70s at Nebraska, which was, handoff left, handoff right. What was that like for you to go from SoCal, Bay Area, boom?
Yeah. It was a total reversal, 180-degree spin, because at Cal, it was, very liberal. Everybody was like out there doing all kind of crazy stuff, and football wasn't that big on the map in those days. And Nebraska was conservative, the complete opposite, traditional football powerhouse, national contending team. And so I felt that at that point I'm going to go to a place where I think, the football program means something. And when I play, I was 7th on the depth chart when I got there. I had to work my way to the top, and eventually made it to the top. But Tom Osborne, Mike Corrigan, the entire staff, they were phenomenal. Cletus Fisher, we had Monty Kiffin. Monty Kiffin, his son, his younger son now is coaching down in the SEC, and we had a great team, great program. It was a great program, but it was enjoyable. I enjoyed my time spent there. They received me with open arms, but I had to work my way all the way to the top. But I have to tell you a funny story how I was able to get to the top.
Hit us.
In the off season, we had a winter conditioning program, and it was indoors, obviously, at Nebraska. And the old clubhouse had some racquetball courts upstairs, and we would do the circuit training, right, Preston? You do you go 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes on one circuit, and then you switch to the other one. And it was an off-season program, a training program, get you ready for spring practice. And the one drill that they had was run by Mike Corrigan, who was a real tough offensive back coach. And he ran the room upstairs in the racquetball room. And when they shut the door, there was a mat on the floor, and there was a stick padded with 2 ends on the stick. And it was a wrestling match, but you were by position only. So we all lined up and we took turns. And I go, wow, this is my chance. If I can get the other guy, if I can kill the other quarterbacks, then I can go up to the top. So it was a fight. It was a fight. And Mike Corrigan was the toughest coach of them all, and he wanted to see what you were made of. So they put us on the mat one at a time. We all got to change, and I came away with the stick every time. So I mean, it was fun. You beat your buddies up, but afterwards you shake their hand and say, "Good try," and so
that's how you do it.
It was a way to get to the top.
There's a way to get to the top. That's how they do it.
Got to fight your way to the top. Yeah.
Well, you know what? When I was in school at New Mexico at the time, and one of my things was every Saturday I'd go to the newspaper and look at the stats and look at the leaders and look at what people were doing. That happened my freshman all the way through my senior year. And, of course, I remember seeing Vince's name and seeing a lot of the different guys there and just all over the country that time. So, I get to the pros and the whole world changes. But before that, Vince, you went through college, you had a successful high school, you made the transition to college, you really starred at Nebraska. Now it comes to when the NFL comes knocking at the door and they're interested in a Vince Ferragamo. Did you believe it at first, or did you always think you belonged in the NFL?
Well, I think as a kid growing up, I never looked beyond my next adventure. In other words, I was little league. I would look to maybe play in high school and then trying to start at the high school level and then try to go to college. And I go to Cal, and, when I was a freshman, I got to start against Stanford and threw that winning pass with no time on the clock to Steve Sweeney. And I tell my grandson, I always try to tell him, save the best for last, and so I always thought it was important to start off quick, but, if you're going to play your best, play it at the end of the game. And, as Preston and I had a lot of success in late fourth quarters in some of the big games. And I think that's important to stress to young players, because even in today's ball, there's so much attention to being wide open offense and the theatrics of players and all the great catches and stuff. But when it all boils down to the end of the game, if it's a tight, close game, you got to bring your team from behind to win. That's the most important time to be at your best. And so, I just think that, Preston, I didn't really have an idea that I was going to play pro ball. I just took it one step at a time. When I went to Cal, then I went to Nebraska, became an All American, and, an academic All American was I was most proud of. I went back to Columbus, Ohio for the banquet there, and then being drafted and not knowing who you're going to end up with. I thought I was going to go to Green Bay, actually.
Did you?
Wow.
Yeah, I thought, I was thinking I was projected 1, 2, or 3. I didn't go till the 4th round. So,
Right.
But I think, though, Stacy, I think Preston would agree. Preston wasn't a first-round draft pick either, but
I was nowhere close to it.
Yeah, you come to camp. You come to camp with something to prove.
Yeah.
And I think, that in itself, playing with the chip on your shoulder, makes you play better.
Yeah.
And, we saw that with Brock Purdy in his first year being Mr. Irrelevant, the last player picked. I mean, he always had something to prove. And I told him coming out of that banquet, I said that, Brock, hey, you're with a great coach. Be ready to go. You're going to get the opportunity. And if you pay attention and, things happen, make the most of it. And he did last year. And so I think that's important to always remember. But you just never know. I mean, from one day to the next. I mean, look at today's game. I mean, all these quarterbacks, you think they're starting, and Stacy, they're sidelined.
Yeah.
They're hurt.
Yeah.
And they have all these rules put in place to protect the quarterbacks, and they're getting hurt like crazy. Take the rules away. I mean, I've seen some of these calls they make, and those are not late hits on a quarterback. We used to get hit like that every down.
There was one this last weekend that was so bad in the Patriot game on Mac Jones. I thought, what in the world? That was the commander, the defensive end, blindside, hit him and just hit him to the ground. What are you supposed to do?
What are you
supposed to do? You won't be able to touch the quarterback. I don't understand.
And how do you get drafted? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Stace.
I'm not coming between teammates. I'm just curious. This whole idea of mental toughness, particularly at the quarterback position, I want to go off, but I'm not going to. I feel like the old school guys get it. I saw you get hit. I saw Montana get killed by the Giants. I saw, you wouldn't see that today. And even at the college level, the transfer portal, can we put you on record? I want to quit, Dad. I'll be that guy.
It's so easy now, but I think, the only good thing I've seen is what Deion Sanders was able to do in Colorado. I mean, I was so impressed with his, I don't know, it came out on the internet or on Instagram or one of the networks or the social media networks, that he had his mom in the locker room, and the opposing coach was ridiculing him because he wasn't raised correctly. So he had a microphone in the locker room, and he had his mom there, and he let his mom speak, and that whole entire locker room went crazy. She told him, "No, I raised my boy correctly. I know how to raise a boy." He said he was out there to play. And when he went out there to play, he's going to play. He didn't actually say it that way. She had a couple other words to say, but man, I'm telling you,
Mama will drive
that whole place erupted. And I have a lot of respect for Deion, because I really like what he's meant to the program, because Colorado couldn't win a game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were one of the worst programs in NCAA, and to see what they did, and they beat Nebraska this year earlier in the season, and Nebraska always played good against Colorado, so that was a different thing.
Well, you know what, you actually, I'm thinking back when I was a rookie, which is a year after you got to the Rams. But when you were drafted, you finally get to that locker room and you walk in. Who are the quarterbacks that you see that you have to compete against?
You saw Pat Hayden, and you saw Joe Namath.
So
as a young kid growing up, I used to watch him on TV, and Joe was the ultimate cool professional. I mean, he was Joe Cool. man, basically. And you learn so much as a quarterback looking to someone like that. You look up to the guy and you watch how he performs and how he controls and leads the team and calls the plays and just his body language. And so much of that as a quarterback is so meaningful to the entire team, because the team takes on the personality of not only the coach but the quarterback. So you gotta that. And I was lucky because we had a great team in Los Angeles, and with great players at every position, great defense, and the coaching was excellent. So but we got along. We had the great chemistry, and I think that's real important in sports. Have the chemistry, and you see the great quarterbacks that are doing well in football today have that chemistry that they built with their team. Yeah.
Well, Stacy, I'm going to let you ask this question afterwards, but I got to set up now the stories that I want to interject in this interview. And I don't know if Vince will remember this, but do you recall the first throw you ever threw to me? And it was at mini camp in 1978. Mm-hmm. And after the draft, it was in May. We were at Blair Field. Okay. You threw me my first pass, the first one that I caught. And it was a dig route, and I hadn't even come out of the break, and I turned around, and the ball was right there. It was perfect. But how I got there, that should not have happened, because how I got there is one of the vets did not want to get up and take his rep. And I jumped up because I knew the route, and I said, I'll do it. I'll do it, because one of the coaches says, I need a Z or I need an X. And I said, I'll take it. And that's how I got my first catch from Vince way back in mini camp before I even made the team.
That was just the start, Preston.
That was the start of it, baby. Oh, wasn't it?
Good stuff happening. No, Preston and I, actually, our first couple of years, we were on the scout team, and we were the backups, giving a good picture for the defense. And Preston and I would hook up and practice all the time, and that's all the time. That's important for quarterbacks that are trying to make their way in the NFL. I mean, you gotta impress somebody, but we had this rapport going. We had already started it. So then when we got in the lineup, of course, we made things happen. So it was fun.
I liked it.
So fun to watch you guys. Got some great photographs that we're going to roll out after this episode on social media of you two together. So fun. I can't imagine at that age getting pushed into the lineup in 1979. Still my all-time favorite Rams team. Forget about it. Don't want it. I'll argue it to the day I die. That's my favorite team. You get pushed into this thing at your age. Hayden, I believe he hurt his finger. You can walk us through that. I know you've probably told the story a million times, but where is your head then? Like, I'm walking into this team that ends up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
How?
It was remarkable. It was a remarkable year. We weren't expected after our slow start to even be in the playoffs. And I think it was the third game or fourth, probably the third game of the season. We played in Dallas at the Irving Stadium, and I replaced Pat late in the game. We were getting blown out, 33-3 or something like that. And I go in and I, complete a few balls and drive the ball a little bit. And then I get crushed to the ground, and I broke my hand.
Oh,
I broke my hand in that game. And at the end of the game, the team was, we just couldn't understand why we weren't playing better. And things weren't going right for me. And I remember I had a coach that came to watch that game. His name was John Matisich. And he came to Dallas, and we were in the locker room together, and they had just did an x-ray on my hand, and my hand was broke. I wasn't playing. Things weren't going right. And I held my head down, and I looked at John. I go, John, I don't think this sport's made out for me. I just can't get it.
Really?
Just can't get this done. And he put his arm around me, and he says, hey, there's the brighter side's coming. He says, you keep your head up. Things are going to happen. They're going to work out. And he gave me that encouragement that so many times you need to have as a player when things are not right. You can't just let up on somebody. You have to just kind of encourage them and support them. And that's what he gave me. And, it's a funny thing because 3 weeks later we played Chicago in Chicago, Stacy. and my hand was just healing. And walking across before the game started, I'm walking across the field with Clarence Shields, our orthopedic surgeon. And he looked at me and he says, "How come you're not playing?" I said, we're playing the Bears, man. They had that that ferocious defense. I said, "Clarence, my hand's not healed up yet. Next week I'll be ready to go. I'll be ready to go." So sure enough, we lost that game. So now we're 5-6. And then the next week we had at home at the Memorial Coliseum, we played the Atlanta Falcons, and they were a blitzing defense, and I was ready to start. And then the whole team changed. The whole outlook of the team. I got my first start, and we won this game, and we went on a winning streak, and we made it in the playoffs. But it's funny how we go back to that same stadium in Dallas in the playoffs, and we beat them in that game.
Yep.
So it just goes to show you that, you just don't give up on things. You keep working hard. You keep just keep on chugging away, and, it's ups and downs. There's battles every day. And then you just continue to improve and get better and better. And we were at the top of our game when we played them. Defense played lights out. We win the game. We were able to get in the Super Bowl that year. So it's just a matter of fate. It's a matter of, God being there and directing us the right way. And I think the stars were aligned for us that year.
We got a peek into your grandson's coaching huddle.
Yeah.
Right there. Got a little bit of a peek there.
Okay,
go. Vince, I got to ask you a couple of stuff that's I probably waited a lifetime to ask. First, you're just 20-something barely, and you're facing the steel curtain. And you played lights out. There's this rumor about something about you not throwing left very often. Somebody, I don't know. You're gonna have to expound on that one.
Casey, where did you get that from?
Look, been a Rams fan my whole life. I heard some rumors.
Yeah, big shoulders, baby. You got to open
wide
up.
receivers.
You know
never
why? I
throw
was
to
looking
me.
at Mel Blunt over there, and I was saying, "Well, I don't throw it the other side." Preston beat him though. Preston,
Yeah, I had to go in at
right.
halftime and start screaming about passing.
Right, exactly.
And then I get 3 right off the bat, second half. Oh,
we should have stopped the game after the third quarter, Preston, because we had the lead
There
in the
you
third
go.
quarter. Okay, game's over.
I tell everybody we won that game for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters.
The greatest team in Rams history. I'm sorry, that was just 3 quarters, man. But what a diva number 88 is, huh? What a diva, Vince. Then he got hurt in that game, but going back to the game, you're so young. You're facing the steel curtain, 7 million Hall of Famers, a Hall of Fame quarterback, 2 wide receivers that are Hall of Famers. How did you get through that as such a young guy?
They had 13 Hall of Famers on that team, including Chuck Noll, the coach. That steel curtain defense, that was tough to break through. But when you prepare for a game like that, sometimes you think about a team like that and you think about, well, man, can I sleep the night before the game or the whole week before thinking about? But when you put your mindset thinking about the guys you're playing with and the offensive line that we had, and Stacy, you got to think back, they were all pro from left tackle to right tackle. And we had a Hall of Famer on the right side, Jackie Slater. They were as good as you get. And when they protected me in Tampa Bay, which had the Bucs had a great defense that game.
Yeah.
And I can remember one time I could have, brought my lunch, sat down, had 8, and then still looking for receivers to throw to. I had that much time back there.
And they had Leroy Selman on that team, right?
They had Leroy Selman,
coming off the
Louis
edge.
Selman. Yeah, they were stacked. They were stacked. So, but I just put the faith and the will into the offensive line, and that's really, for a quarterback, that's your ace in the hole, and then to have receivers like Preston and Drew Hill and Billy Waddy outside and Terry Nelson, Charlie Young, and then the runners we had. Wow, we had Wendell Tyler, Lawrence McCutcheon. These guys. There's too much talent on our team that I wasn't going to let someone. I don't care how good they were on defense, but the first play, I'm telling you, all the excitement and the exhilaration and the enthusiastic approach before the first game. I mean, I couldn't even feel myself hitting the ground when I was running. And to be honest with you, the first play of the game, there were some butterflies going. The first play of the game.
Oh, yeah.
The first play, the first pass I threw was to Cullen Bryant. He caught the ball. And after that play, I was fine. But man, I'm telling you, it was a big deal. It was a big thing because we're all pretty young. Preston and I were like our third year in the league. We were playing a lot of great veterans. Or Preston was second year in the league. So it was, but it was a game to always remember. I mean, it was a game that you just fight to the finish. And I was really depressed after the game, but thinking back on the game and how we played it. We did our best. We did the best we could.
What a team.
Everybody gave 100%, 110%.
Oh yeah,
we gave it our all. So that's what made it. That's what makes a game a game. When both teams go after it and they go to the start right from the beginning to the end and play it out. So we had a good shot at it.
And that was you guys. I still tell people when they like to rub my nose in it or something, I go, what are you talking about? Watch a game. They ended the Steelers dynasty. That was it. That was it.
That was our last game.
And to hear Steelers players after that game talk about you guys like, we were lucky to get out of there. Like, it was so fun. So then you leave the Rams. By the way, I was gutted as a kid. You go to Canada and experience, I don't know if you want to expound on that, why or how you went there. They paid you some pretty good coin to come north. Didn't go as planned, and then you come back to the Rams. What was the change at that point with Dickerson and Burt Jones? I think you initially came back to backup Burt. He got hurt. What was that like for you to come back home?
Well, football is a business too. And, when you negotiate a contract, you try to get as much as you can. And, I think at the time we exhausted our negotiations with them. We didn't have a strike. I tried to sit out practice one day and that didn't work. So, things weren't going to work out in LA at the time. But when I came back, I was able to come back to the Rams in 1982. My time in Canada was short spent, 1 year. Things didn't work out very well for me in Canada. Nelson Scalbania was the owner, and they were trying to build a franchise just on big name guys, but that's only half the team. So, we didn't fare too well in Montreal, and so I was actually lucky to come back to the Rams and get a second chance. And when I did come back, that first year was up and down. But that was in 1982. We played the Chicago Bears. I threw for over 500 yards. So, I was back and we had a good day that day, although we didn't win the game. Preston and I hooked up quite a bit in that game. It was a memorable year in 1982, 83. I came back and started 83, got hurt in 83. And then I was ended my career in Buffalo and in Green Bay. So
And actually, that 500-plus yard game, it was 509 yards. Yeah. And here's a little sneak preview of the characteristic of Vince Ferragamo. I come off the sideline with a play. I go in, it's probably 63, whatever, and X-corner. But Vince gets down. You want to talk about dirt, drawn plays. He gets down in the huddle on the ground. He says, Preston, don't take the corner in. Here, do this and that, and then come out, and I'm going to have the ball there. That was our play in the huddle. We go out. It works like a charm. We score. I got that picture on my wall, too, that touchdown. It's just – and that's how Vince was throughout his whole career. We'd come in with something. Yeah. He didn't like the feel of it. He says, hey, you think you can beat him on the such and such? Run that instead. I was like, okay, I'm ready. It was for a receiver. Back in that day, it wasn't probably as restrictive as it is today because they really trusted, especially, sight adjustment is the biggest adjustment of everything. If I'm not on the same page with him, we're in trouble. He gets sacked or we throw an interception or we fumble the ball. But back then you had the ability to really be creative. And was that something you were just born with or they welcomed that a lot of times?
Yeah, I think, you have an idea in your mind, Preston. I think sometimes, we did that more than once at a game. We'd make up
Yeah,
a
we
play
did.
in the huddle. Yeah. And then Dennis Harrod would look at, Rich Saul and Jackie Slater, just run the play call, man. He called the play, just run it. He diagrammed it up. So, we would work on certain things but it's just a feel for the game. I remember my first start, we were playing the Redskins, the old Washington Redskins, and George Allen had the team. They had to beat us the last game of the year to get into the playoffs. And they're beating us 17-0. So in the fourth quarter, they decided to put me in. So this is my first time to get the chance to play. And I remember we lead the team down. We'd scored one touchdown. And then we came back, scored another touchdown. And on the third drive, 17-14. And over the sideline, you see George Allen. He's getting nervous. He's really getting nervous. And we're driving the ball down. And it's fourth down. It's fourth down. We have to go for it, right? And all along, you got I don't know who's up in the booth, but maybe Gifford and Howard Cosell. And they're in there, and they're talking about how marvelous the play call was on the fourth down play. We ran a sweep. We ran a sweep. And I didn't have the guts to tell anybody that I thought it was third down. It was fourth down. So that's how come it was so good of a play. So I call a sweep, and I think it was Wendell Tyler took the ball, and he must have ran for 25 yards. They weren't even expecting that play. Wow. Thought, I'm going to throw it. So we get the first down, and we go down. I think we missed the field goal, but we would have sent it in overtime. But yeah, that was, sometimes you just, you make stuff up and you make mistakes and you just roll with the punches, but,
absolutely awesome.
Yeah. No,
I love
Preston, it. I came in the locker room once, we were playing the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah. George Farmer came in the huddle and Ray Malavasi is trying to get the play in, he's trying to run the ball. I said, man, we can't run the ball. We got to get a touchdown. Shoot, Joe Montana's on this side. He'll drive down and beat us. So I said, George, can you outrun Ronnie Lott? He goes, man, I can outrun Ronnie Lott. I can outrun. Well, then, man, I'm going to throw it as far as I can, George. Just go get it. He said, okay, I'll go get it. Sure enough, Ray Malavasi is calling me every name under the moon, and I'm dropping back, and I let one go, and George Farmer caught it for a touchdown. Stacey,
caught it for a touchdown. Yeah,
he ran by Ronnie Lott, and so that's the fun part of the game.
We live by that nature. Okay, here's another one we got to throw in there before Stacey throws out another question. We got to talk about and share about the New York Jets, the big brawl, Klecko, Gastineau, and it all started obviously with Jackie Ray getting a little upset, frustrated. Yeah. But if anybody watches that video, you just need to watch Vince and me in the video. Oh, man. Probably two of the scariest guys that's trying to fight everybody on the field.
Jackie, to this day, Jackie still has a fit over that play because he goes,
he really? Yeah.
What in the world were you doing putting Preston right alongside me? He's not going to block anybody. Because we were going to call a dash, I think, on that play. So Jackie was dropping back like it was going to be a dash. And Preston was lined up, in a snug formation on the right side. He usually left on the left side outside or run in motion. I dropped back. It was a broken play all the way, broken play. And nothing went right on the play. And here comes Mark Gastineau. I thought they blew the whistle, and he knocks me to the ground. And then all heck broke loose. Oh, yeah. And after that point, we just knew it was going to happen at some point in the game. And there was going to be a brawl, and there sure was. These guys were ready. And here comes Greg, what was his name? Defensive tackle. We had everybody, both benches emptied in the middle of the field.
Yeah. I remember.
And so it started. Dennis Harris started it. Jackie got involved. Boom. And then all of a sudden, those guys are getting knocked around, and they're hitting people. So we got to get involved. So I take off, and I run, and all of a sudden you see me jump in the middle of that thing, and then I get buried. Someone throws me to the ground and starts to punch me.
Here I come flying.
And we're having a good old time. Man, it was a fun day. Everybody enjoyed that day.
Ladies and gentlemen, catch your YouTube video of the Jets and the Rams from 1983, the big brawl.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's so funny. I love watching
Ferragamo Denard ticket. What in the world? Maybe
we started
not.
it all. Preston
Old
blocked
school.
that guy. Well, I'm not going to block that guy. I'm not going
blocking
to
that
block
guy.
Mark Gastineau.
Chucky Ray, you get him.
Good grief, man. We need 2 hours to hear the stories out of you two. What a special time. Okay, I got to ask you, Vince, kind of in that vein, who's the toughest player you ever faced?
Whoa, there was,
There's a lot of
L.C.
them.
Greenwood, was tough. God, Dave Bunce, man. That dude, Dave Bunce he was a load. And then you had, Too Tall Jones, Harvey Martin. There were so many great players that played. Richard Dent from the Bears. But I think one of the, Jackie Slater and I, we do a podcast, and one of the things that we talked about once is, with the passing of Dick Butkus, and watching him as a kid growing up, I have to tell you, he was probably one of the meanest dudes I think I ever seen play football.
Yeah.
And he was scary. Him and Deacon Jones, man, it's a good thing we never had to go up against any of those two guys. Those guys were a force to contend with. And we see a lot of great players today. There's a lot of great players playing football. And the premier players, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, guys like this, Aaron Donald, they just stick out. They're a force to contend with, and you got to watch every step what they're doing, and you got to have one or two guys on them almost every time, or else you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
So, but that's what makes football a great sport. Great sport.
Amen. I love number 99. I can't get enough air. I watch every play that guy is in on. He's so special. That's amazing. Well, listen, we got to jump up to today because you're doing a lot of special stuff today. Post NFL, we could talk for another hour. I could easily, and I'm sure Preston's got some good stories we'll do off the air. But tell us what Vince Ferragamo's doing today. I watch your and Jackie's podcast religiously. Preston and I have talked about the podcast and some of the content. Good stuff. Of course, you guys are teammates, but you've gotten into real estate. You're into winery. I happen to live in wine country in Oregon. I'm a wine
drinking that wine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Look at that in a mason jar like he's drinking coffee. Look at this guy.
I got to
88.
drink it in a mason jar because I don't have the right bottle of wine in front of me.
You got to have the right glass, and you got to have the Tenute de Ferragamo wine in front of you, Preston.
The Ferragamo wine.
Yeah,
That's
super
what I
Tuscan.
want.
Yeah,
That's what I want, baby.
Well, you're speaking my language now, Stacy, because since retiring from football, I was very active in the community, running my foundation for Special Olympics, and we did a golf tournament for 30 years. Preston participated in that tournament many years, and that was a lot of fun. And I got involved in the real estate market. I'm a broker and run Touchdown Real Estate, Ferragamo Real Estate. It's a residential brokerage. And we also do mortgage loans. We do private lending through a good friend of mine who's been a great financial planner, and Talone Financial Services. They help a lot of people with loans. And I also do, I'm a family man, first of all. So I'm very involved in the family, and now my grandkids. So I have 4 grandkids. Wow. And the oldest is 9 and one's 7. And those are Vanessa's children. And so I'm very active, my wife and I, with them and watching. And they're going to the same school my kids went to school when they were young.
Oh, wow.
And everybody, the entire family gets involved with our winery. We have a vineyard in Orange Park Acres. We produce a super Tuscan wine. It's a Sangiovese and Cabernet Franc blend. Mm-hmm. And we grow the grapes right in Orange County. They do it really well. And I have it, it's produced and bottled right in Orange Park Acres. I have a good friend, Bruce Powers, who does those. And he's been doing a great job. So that's kind of been our signature wine. And we've also acquired other wines as well. We've acquired a Primitivo, which name it for all the women in my life. My Super Tuscan wine is named Caressa J for Cara, Vanessa, and Jenna. Oh, yeah. The Anna Stella is named after my grandmother and my mother. Her name was Stella, and my grandmother was Anna Acuzio. I'm 100% Italian.
Wow.
And that's a Chardonnay. that we make. But the grapes are not grown on my property. The only ones are the Sangiovese and the Cabernet. We do a Primitivo, which is Raffaella, was my aunt's name, my mom's sister.
Wow.
And then the Pinot Nero is a beautiful Pinot Noir wine. It's called the Sofia Francesca, after my granddaughter.
Oh,
And then-
that's my
and then
favorite
my-
Pinots.
Yeah, and then my wife loves the Prosecco. She loves the champagne.
Oh,
Okay.
And so we make a rosé Prosecco, and it's from Sonoma, and we call that Giuseppina, which means
Giuseppina.
Jody in Sicilian. So she's Sicilian. And Preston knows Jody. So
You know
yeah,
Jody
you gotta,
well.
yeah.
That's
just,
my sis.
So
so was
but
my
watch out for
grandmother.
those Sicilian girls.
Oh, my grandmother was Sicilian. I only claim my father was German, my mother Dutch, Italian, because of my grandmother Vercellis. It was a family Sicilian, but
Yeah.
I want to claim I'm full Italian. I can't.
I can't. I'm
love the wine.
black Italian. Come on.
Look at you.
I gotta send you guys a bottle of my Super Tuscan. You'll love it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I will, and I will
All right.
visit. I will.
Everybody's
visit.
gonna ask you in New Mexico, where'd you get this bottle? You can say,
Hey, I'm gonna tell him my
Yeah.
special
"You gotta know
order,
somebody."
baby. Well,
We
I'm
will be
coming to get my
featuring
own
that.
case.
Well, make sure you send me the address, Preston.
I
There
did
you
already.
go.
All right, okay. I'll know where to send it. I'll put it in the mail. Put it in the
Okay,
mail.
if you don't have it, I know it
All
would
right.
better a
We'll
second
get
time.
it to you guys.
Hey,
I
big
love it.
Make sure you
question
share
for
some
you.
with Stacy, though. He's got to drink some.
Yeah.
Oh, we definitely got to take care of that. All
All
right,
right, just
I got
a little sip, Stacy. You don't need much. But, you know, you have a nice bowl of pasta bolognese or
Oh.
Parmesan,
Oh, you're
something
talking
like
my
that,
language
you know,
there.
You're
just-
killing
oh.
me.
Ah,
You're
eh,
killing
come here,
me.
Mike.
I'm up here in
Teriyaki
Oregon wine
cheese.
country, Vince. I'm in
Yeah.
Oregon wine country.
Oh, you
Out
are?
through
That's
Dundee
Willamette.
and McMinnville, Willamette, correct.
Oh, yes.
That's where I'm coming to you from. So
Oh, you're in cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
lots of
Well,
fun
we'll have
there.
to send to two different spots then.
Yeah, you will.
I will
Yeah.
not deny that.
All right.
Preston, what were you were cooking up something?
No, you know what? There's so many stories about Vince. The hour is growing late, and we know he's got great work there. And we can continue this at some point in time. And we got to get Jackie Ray on this show. So you talk to
Yes.
your partner.
Oh,
Let
and I
him
didn't
know.
even talk about on my podcast. Yeah, our
Talk
podcast.
about it. Come on, throw it out
Please.
there.
Real quick, OnPoint Live with Vince and Jackie. We do a weekly show. We're going to get Preston on. Preston's going to be one of our special guests soon. So, but we
awesome.
talk about everything that's going on in the sports world, and we give a prediction. Sometimes we do a recap. Because Jackie and I both were on Fox. We did
Yes.
Fox wrap-up show
Yep.
here in Southern California for 5 years. So we're very comfortable doing this kind of work, and it's been fun for us because we can still interact with the fans and get fan engagement, and with the social media, Instagram and stuff. That's kind of fun. So Instagram too, on.point.live. It's kind of fun. So
You guys
We
do a
will
follow
great
us
job.
on that. Follow
We
us on
will we will cross reference that on all of our social media with this episode as well. Really, really good stuff. Okay, Preston, 2-minute drill. I know Vince is busy there with the Salvation Army.
On you, my
You're
friend.
going to leave it to me?
I'm going to give you this pleasure, and then I got one last question when you're done with the 2-minute drill.
Okay, it's
Drill.
early Christmas from my
Yeah.
partner here. This is awesome.
yeah.
Vince
Okay, here we
Ferragamo,
go.
number
my
15.
thinking cap on.
Rapid fire. I got a feeling you're used to this. I watch you
Oh,
and
yeah,
Jackie.
yeah,
I know that show. So, okay, Vince, old school here. Turf or grass?
Turf. No.
Turf.
What am I talking about? I'm talking about grass.
Okay.
Yeah,
Real
I'm
natural
about-
grass. I don't
I'm
like
about
the
to call
turf.
audible on you.
Yeah, well, I was going to say.
I was
wow,
about
what
to
am
be
I talking about?
shocked.
Yeah,
I think this
grass.
one. I think this one is a lame question now that I look at it because I know the answer. But college, Canadian League or National Football League?
Oh, NFL.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Such a great game. What is Vince Ferragamo's favorite movie?
The Godfather.
Yes,
I like the
Corleone. Corleone is in the.
Corleone.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Come
God,
here,
I just
Mike.
watched
You
it.
put a
Grazie.
meatball in
Grazie.
it. You get your sauce and you get your wine. You throw it in. You mix it all like that.
Yeah.
You won't see Polly no
way
more.
back.
He's
Yeah.
just making deals he can't refuse. It's a good thing. Okay, your most underrated teammate at any level of your career.
Ooh, good one.
Whoa, man. Oh, man. Underrated.
It could be
Boy,
Pop
it
Warner.
probably have to be the offensive line play that I've always had. I've always had great players up front in front of me, and they're just disrespected, but the quarterback loves their offensive line. So it'd probably have to be, Tom Davis, who passed away, or Ernie, who passed away in high school. I mean, some of my guys, Rich Saul, all my centers have passed on now, but they were probably the most underrated guys on the football team.
God, some great ones. Rich Saul was so tough.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Soup.
Love it. Okay. Vince Ferragamo's greatest football achievement.
Ooh, man, you know what? College was fun, throwing that pass to Steve Sweeney with no time on the clock to beat Stanford, or maybe to Chuck Melito, who's passed now too. He was a great receiver at Nebraska. We beat the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I mean, that was Bill Parcells coach defense, and we beat them in the Astro Blue Bonnet Bowl. And probably the pass to Billy Waddy to put us in the Super Bowl against Dallas, fourth quarter. And then that X corner to Preston that always worked.
Yeah.
Every time we called that pass, man. Preston can run an awesome corner. Best I've ever seen.
Look at that. Hey,
no one can still run a corner like that, Preston.
7 route, baby.
They can't run because in those days you had to run great routes. Today they can't even touch the receiver today. I mean,
second week in a row. Yeah. Second. Dwight Hicks told us the same thing last week, Vince. He said,
did he?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Did he say,
same
did he
exact
talk about
thing.
your corner, Preston?
Oh yeah, they all talk about it.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yep.
It's one thing to play against Mike Haynes, but when you can beat him on a corner route, and that's the only route you can beat him on.
Preston can run it every which way.
Yeah.
Deep,
I love it.
Shallow, intermediate.
Yeah.
Zone against man, doesn't matter.
Yeah, don't matter.
I sprained my arm trying to lay out like number 88. Trust me. And I'll tell you. But I got to say this, and then I'll move on really quick. Your throw to Billy Waddy is the top 3 greatest memories of my sports life.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, that was a moment against the Cowboys that I get goosebumps right now talking about it.
Yeah,
okay.
Man, I remember Vince Scully calling that play too.
Ooh,
yeah.
I mean, when you listen to him call that play, my goodness gracious. Yeah, it does give you a little goosebumps.
What he made the catch.
Every time. Every time. Love it. Okay, and then finally to wrap things up, Vince Ferragamo always thought you'd be a movie star. That was his combo off camera. But who plays you in a movie of your life?
What was oh shoot.
And Denzel's out.
No, yeah, Denzel Washington. No, not Denzel Washington. No, who would play me? Gosh, man, that's a good question. I would have to. Who was the one, Preston, that we did with the right before the Super Bowl? Warren Beatty on that movie.
Yeah, but not even him.
Heaven
you know
Can
who
Wait?
it is?
Yeah, Heaven Can Wait.
No, but not even him. You know who it is?
Who?
I can't think of his name. But he was he just passed away. He was in what's the movie with Joe Pesci and the undercover guy?
Ray.
Yeah, he plays
Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta. That's who it is.
Yeah,
would you go for that?
Some people mistake me though, Stacy. Sometimes they say, "Hey, you're Lou Ferrigno, right?" I go, "No, I'm not Lou Ferrigno. I'm not Lou Ferrigno, man. That guy's a wrestler, dude."
What? He's going to turn into the Hulk. Vince Ferragamo turns into the Hulk in the last one. What is going on? I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's that last question.
Last question.
It's not a question. Vince, I'm on a journey to just raise awareness, but do you feel like me that Rosie Greer should be in the Hall of Fame? No questions asked.
Oh, for sure.
Why is that not happening? Why doesn't the Ram push that? I don't understand that.
I don't know. I mean,
that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, he was as impressive as any of the other 4 sometimes, And, Deacon always used to praise Merlin because he was right next to him.
Yep.
But if you ask Lamar who he thought, he would say Rosie.
Heck yeah.
So, I mean, those guys play. And that's the problem with today's game. It's an individual. They think it's an individual. It's not. You have to play collectively. That's how you arrive at championships, when you play collectively across the board.
Yeah.
Offensive line and defensive line, same way.
Well, my last
true.
dig at this,
Good
my
question.
friend, is to say thank you. And also thank you for allowing me to catch some balls that looked like they were difficult, but they were the easiest thing in the world for this young man. So thank you, bud. I really appreciate
man, it's
it.
great being on the Gridiron Show. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
A big, big thank you to, frankly, both of you for the memories I have of watching you two. Yeah, I'm going to wax all poetic and get emotional here, but big memories with you two. Big thanks. And folks, if you are listening in on the Gridiron Icon or you want to see Vince in the flesh, check out our YouTube site. Otherwise, you can pick up this platform or this show, on all podcast platforms. We appreciate you listening in. From Preston and I and the Gridiron Icon podcast, a big, big thanks to number 15, Vince
Thanks,
Ferragamo.
guys. Drop me your address for the wine. It's
We
coming.
will.
And that's not for our listeners, not for the listeners. All right.
Bud.
So long, guys.
We
Good
will
being
see
with
you
you.
all. We will see you all next week. Thanks
Happy
again, Vince.
Thanksgiving. All right. Bye-bye.
Back at you.